What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, December 6, 2024. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host, Phil, episode 315. Phil, we are back to Friday, Monday shows. We took Monday off to get us ready for the 2 shows a week. Our in-season schedule is pinned to all our social media sites, so check it out there. We have something for you nearly every single day of the week. We definitely have something for you every single day of the work week. And then sometimes you get a Bandits Friday game, so we'll be releasing on Thursday, and that's next week. So next week's Friday show will actually be released on Thursday. We're trying something different this year to give everybody ample time to listen to the shows before having to travel down to the arena or finding a spot to watch the Buffalo Bandits, which will hint, hint, nod, nod. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. But, Phil, are you ready for your 2 shows a week for the next 6 months? Hopefully 6 months, because that means the Buffalo Bandits are in a late playoff push once again.
No.
You just had 6 months off, man.
Yeah. We talked about this before, that December was still going to be crazy time. And especially with the snowstorms that just hit, the 2 of them. Not storm, I don't know what to call it. Snowfall, I guess, with a lot of snow. I don't know. Is snowstorm too hard of a word for this? What happened
to snowstorm, especially if we have people that listen in the southern tier. It snowed.
Right.
It snowed. For the first time.
But what do you call that?
Just
it snowed?
Yeah.
All right. The snow that accumulated on the ground. I had to deal with it at work and at home, and my snowblower's not working, despite firing it up a couple months ago to make sure it was working. Went to use it, and it's not working, so had to hand shovel everything. It was a bit of a nightmare. So it's not going great, and just tired, and December's going to be wild. But I think after the Bandits game, I think that's when I'll be officially back in. This one's going to be a little tougher, but I think once the Bandits play and hopefully get the W, we'll talk about later, that I think that's when I'll be dialed back into the 2 shows a week.
Yeah, imagine currently, because we're still in our one house that we're still waiting to close to move out of, and we own the other house. So I had 2 driveways for the past 2 days to shovel, including work as well. So, I picked the dumbest time to move and rehab a house, because going to 2 shows a week now and articles and everything else we're doing, I'm an idiot. But everybody knew that. So we got a jam-packed show.
You didn't
We're going to dive
closing,
right into it.
You know?
There's really nothing else really to intro, because there's so much to talk about, because we've been off since last Wednesday. So, 9 full days. I can't do math. Remember, you can follow us Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky. Yes, we're at both. You don't have to be picky, choosy where to be. We're on both, and we'll be on both for the time being until one of us gets kicked out, and or just the site crashes. Who knows what's going on? Buffalo Sports Co. over on both of those. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, we are everywhere. Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Odyssey. We're on YouTube, so you can see our beautiful faces. My empty room that maybe next week I'll be in my other studio. I have no idea. I'm getting that one ready in the other house as well. It's been a crazy time. You can check out I did not mention it yet. Check out our website. It's a great start to the in-season, Phil. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. That is where the Fantasy Bandits game will be updated. That's where you can also check out our store by hitting the shop tab at the top of the website. You can also click the link tree in all our social media sites. Both places will take you right there. You can represent the BSC on the go and look for the time breakdown in the description of the show, because you get to skip around as you please. Don't be one of those Debbie Downers that says, hey, we don't want to listen to your intros. When Phil was getting married, we don't want to listen to Phil's intro and get married. I don't care about that. Look for time breakdowns in the description of the show. I'll rephrase it once more. So, Phil, we've been off since last Wednesday, like we mentioned. The Bils played a snow globe game. Team roof over here. So I hated it. Every last bit of it. I hated every second of watching that game. Yeah, they won versus San Francisco Sunday night. We would have pushed their recording anyways, and then Phil came up with the genius idea of just wait till Friday anyway. So we won't hash this one out too much because it is Friday. A lot of people are already talking about it. But Bils 35-10 win in the Snow Globe. First 10-0 or 10-2 start since 1991. Earliest division that has been won since the 2009 Colts. The Bills are 8-0 following a bye under Sean McDermott. The defense, 10 of 12 games, they've went without allowing more than 7 points in the second half. Josh Allen, MVP candidate once again. But Phil, I hated the game every second of it. Not just for the fantasy aspect, but just because I want to actually see good football being played, and I don't think you can get that when there's 4, 5, 6 inches of snow out there. People are losing their footing. I don't like it. And the players are all on record. They hate playing in these type of games. So why? Just for TV, I guess.
I would say it really is a purely entertainment factor, which is all the NFL actually cares about. They don't really care about the players.
Pan to the lights so we can see how bad it actually is, even though it's not that bad. You can see all the snowflakes. The light makes it look better.
Yeah, I mean, you saw... Oh my God, the snowman with his ski goggles on the side, having a blast, and you could tell. I mean, the announcers mentioned it how many times that all the players look like they're running half speed because they're just trying to get traction and no one can move. So it opened things up in a weird way. Ground game was huge, and then when CMC went down, it made the game for the Bills much, much easier. Even though Mason is still a pretty solid running back as far as the backup goes, so. I don't know. There really isn't a ton to talk about with this game. I think the turnover battle was huge. Defense, coming up 3-0, and the Bills not turning any over in a snow globe is massive, but especially the one where San Francisco was on the goal line and then fumbled it. They had a few really big, just timely turnovers in this one. Defense had fun. Allen looked good again. Only 13 passes completed, but 448-2 is rushing. The obviously passing, receiving, whatever that play was with Cooper was amazing and a really good time to watch. Take that, Pat Mahomes. I don't know. It was a fun game. I thought. I know you hated it. I get what you're saying. You want the talent on both sides. I do think it played to the Bills' strengths quite a bit because San Fran right now doesn't have the depth, especially when CMC went out, to handle that kind of game. Purdy just isn't that good. He's an okay QB for sure, but he needs better conditions. I don't think he was built for that kind of game. So I think it did lean to the Bills' strengths, which it's annoying to continue to bring up. But I mean, how many times we heard that the Bills got Allen? One of the reasons was a big arm and everything. And you saw it in this game that he's just zipping passes through like they're absolutely nothing. And Purdy really couldn't get much done in the passing game for himself. So fun game, huge win as far as just score goes. Really, San Fran's a shell of themselves right now. I'd love to say that you beat, a team that was in the Super Bowl last year, but I don't think San Fran looks anything like what they did last year, especially in a game like that. So, honestly, just got the win, enjoyed it from, what we could watch and stuff, and move on to the next one. There really just isn't a ton to take away from this one, but got the win, keep winning. Congrats on the division. Congrats on winning it super early, and keep on moving.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. There's not a ton to talk about. Buffalo got their job done. It favored them, especially when CMC went down. If CMC played that entire game, I still think Buffalo wins because San Francisco has just had such a rough time this year in the red zone. I still think Buffalo wins, and you saw Rapp's big play right in the end zone. Juszczyk punching that ball out. Why they go to Juszczyk, I have no idea. San Francisco is just very confusing to me, but I really like their safety plays. Kittle 1 for 7. I know he had that one ugly drop. Kind of probably cost me one of the games in Dynasty. Kicks me out of the playoffs. But Debo's not the shell of himself anymore. Like I said, this game is probably a little bit different looking if CMC does not go down. But I still think Buffalo wins. But you got the job done. Ugly fashion, I guess not even ugly fashion for the Bills, but ugly fashion for San Francisco. I hated the game once again. Build roofs on all football stadiums because, yes, it might be pretty on TV, but even your players hate it, and I hate it. So, there's not much more to talk about. They'll face the Rams this Sunday, 4:25, and you'll get an instant reaction from us because we'll be recording right after that game.
What about Hyde coming back? You got any thoughts on that one?
Nothing. I think he's a practice squad coach, which
seems to be from the press conference I watched. I didn't watch all of it. I watched a few minutes, but it sounds like that's exactly the role they have him in for now, and then emergency if needed. But sounds like he's going to be a coach more than anything.
Yeah, I think he's going to be. It's kind of like a similar role to, and not even as much. I guess I can kind of relate it that way. Like Vino, like he is for Steve Orleman and Evan C. That veteran presence, that invaluable
or Dawson,
experience
if you want to throw that
get.
Dawson to Wires and Belter.
Right. Yes. It's a player that is past his. I'm not relating anymore to the Buffalo Bands here. Hyde is past his prime. You saw him lose a step the last couple of years, but his experience and his knowledge of the game for the Buffalo Bills and how they structure their defense will help the safety room. It can't hurt. I was kind of not shocked to see it happen, but I was more surprised that it still did happen after the way that Rapp and Hamlin have been playing. But maybe this is just to put them over the top in the playoffs. But beyond that, Kincaid's limited practice now. Coleman's limited practice. It seems like they're getting healthier. Man, Milano played a whole game, them playing him, and I understand it was upper body and not lower body, but him making him first game back playing in all that snow was a little shocking not to see him on a pitch count. But yeah, that's all I got with this one. Rams 425 on Sunday. Take care of business. Their offense can be scary with the wide receivers, but the wide receivers really haven't bothered the Buffalo Bills. It's going to be Kyron in the run game, and Phil, that one's in a dome. So I'm interested to watch this one.
Going to be on the offense and Allen to put up big numbers.
Yes. It will be maybe it'll be a game where we actually see 300 yards passing. I have no idea. And I'm kind of just dreading this conversation, and there's not really a good way to segue into this. The Buffalo Sabres. They're still a team. They're like the New Jersey Jets of hockey.
The good news is with the Sabres is that the Bandits are back soon, and all the Sabres fans that are leaving them can transfer and be Bandits fans, because we will welcome everybody. We want 18,000 strong at every home game.
Yeah, if you want to see good product inside the KeyBank Center, just wait till the 28th, I think it is, their home opener, or just get it ESPN Plus or CW23 or wherever you want to do and watch the Buffalo Bandits. But yes, we do have to talk about the Buffalo Sabres here. 4 games, and I really don't want to talk about any of them. Wednesday versus Minnesota, 1-0 loss. Not bad. Minnesota's a really good team. UPL, 29 of 30 saves. Shots were 39 of 30 in favor of Buffalo. They won 0-2 on the power play. Friday, Vancouver, another good team. They lost 4-3 in overtime. Hey, you got a loser point. Byram, Cousins, and Tuck, goal scorers. UPL, 18 of 22 save. Shots were 34 to 22 in favor of Buffalo. 2 games in a row, out shooting their opponents. 0-5 on the power play. They tied in the second half of the third period, though. Battling back. Then Saturday, this is the ugly one. Ugly one so far. The Islanders, 3-0 loss. Reimer started 17 of 19 saves. Shots were 29 to 20 in favor of Buffalo. Once again, out shooting your opponent. 0-2 on the power play. The power play is coming back to bite them again. And then Tuesday happened. I was okay until Tuesday, Phil. Then Tuesday, out to a 4-0 lead. Me and Brooke were at the game. They lost 5-4. Yeah. 5-4 is the end game there. Tage had 2, Paterka, Malenstein had the other ones. All in the first period. UPL 36 of 41 saves. Shots were 41 to 30 in favor of Colorado. 0 for 3 on the power play. So they went 0-3-1. 1 of a possible 8 points. 0 for 12 on the power play. They blew the lead. They're 3 points out of a playoff spot. As I was writing that, they need to jump at least 5 teams, Phil. It's just, it's every time you think that the team has bought back in, or every time you get a little bit of hope for this team, they just break your heart nonstop, and I don't have any more heart to give them.
Yeah, I don't understand. It's the same thing every single season now. And I don't know what it takes to get across to these players to play with any kind of intensity and passion and love for the sport and the fans and the jersey you're wearing, and bringing Ruff back was supposed to, encourage that a lot more because he had the history with the team, so he was supposed to get them all pumped up to get excited to play for these fans and everything, and it's been brutal. For these games, I thought UPL played pretty well in most of them. I thought the defense around him is terrible. Their rebound control from UPL needs to be better because the defense has no interest in protecting any rebound ever or clearing any player out in front of the net ever or doing anything physical. They seem to like to stand around and watch other players play in their zone, and that's fun. The offense has moments where they're pretty good, and then they have moments where they completely disappear. And yes, the shots are great, but the high danger chances are limited, so you can keep throwing the puck at the net all you want from the outside. Nothing's going to happen. Thompson's been hit or miss in his return, but his Colorado game was a little bit exciting. I thought Benson, for the most part, looked good, but I think he's still a couple years away from really a breakout season. I've liked what I've seen out of Benson. He seems excited to play. He seems energetic.
The only ones that cares.
Right. He really does look like that every single time he's out there. I forgot what game. I want to say it was the Colorado game where he knocked somebody over.
He got plowed over, got right back up, and set up Paterka. Yeah.
But he went in for the hit, and the guy did fall over, so I'll give him some credit for that. But yeah, got right back up, made the play, and then set up Paterka for a beautiful goal. Like, Benson is what I want all the players to look like at all times for this little guy who is ridiculously scrappy, throwing fists, getting upset with everybody, sprinting around, looks good. Like, I do believe he's still a couple years away from really establishing himself, which stinks for the Sabres and for him because I think he would love to be established now. But like you just said, he's like one of the few players on the team that looks like he has any kind of passion or excitement to play the game of hockey. No one else really seems to have that. And even UPL, like, I don't blame him at all, but you can see some of the goals go in. He just, like, stares the defense down. Like, can I get a little bit of help, please? Like, just something. And if I was UPL watching a lot of those goals go in that are rebounds where they just aren't clearing out the net, it's, you know, turnovers in the defensive zone that turn into a wide open opportunity for the opposing offense, like I would understand wanting to give up in a lot of these games, even though, again, the shots are lower, but the opportunities that the other teams have are breakaways. They're 2-on-1s, they're 4-on-1s. Like, yes, you can have more shots, but that doesn't mean the chances to score are actually in your favor, and this team just looks sad. And I don't know what this canceled practice behind closed doors, no media meeting was about, but I feel like we've seen that before as well. I think we've had that the last few years where they have one practice off, no media, they get all behind closed doors, you know, hash it out, get tough, and come back and do the exact same thing. I don't know. This seems frustrating. I don't know. Like, again, after a big West Coast trip, you were on the up and up, like you said. You kind of buy back in. They're in a playoff spot. They look good, and then just crash and burn. And like you said, yes, they played tougher teams in this one, but they just don't look like they care enough at all.
Yeah, I mean, allow me to. This might be my last rant of the Buffalo Sabres ever because like I said,
until they make playoffs.
I can't even get there anymore. Like, there is one word: soft. This whole franchise is tissue paper. It's embarrassing. They make me more interested in the New Jersey Jets. Like, that's how pathetic this organization. How after 13 years, Phil, can the same things be said by players over and over and over? Its names change, faces change, and the same comments. It's pathetic. There's been calls for the owner to speak. Why would you want the owner to speak? He's a coward. He's not going to say anything. The same word vomit that everyone in this organization is going to say, he'll say the exact same thing. Kevin Adams is going to be talking today at 11:30. Make a bingo board. I saw people put it online. Make a bingo board about what he's going to say because it's going to be the same thing he said after bad losses last year. No other organization in the planet allows a GM to have lack of success this many years in a row and keep your job. No profession, not even sports, any profession have underachieved and not progressed at all. Like, I like the moves he made. I like Zucker. I like McLeod. But guess what? Your star players is you sign long-term contracts to. Owen Power can't play in his own end. Dylan Cousin, I don't even know what happened to him. He stinks. Jack Quinn, like, he still has not scored on a goalie yet. He's got one goal, and it was an empty netter. Like, it's pathetic that we have to be better. Too soft on the puck. Learn from this. Team went out on the attack, and we folded. Got casual. Team wants accountability. Don't forget how this feels. These are all things that the players have said for years on end. I'm sorry if for whatever reason you have listened to me this season and you bought back in. I'm sorry. I'm just as big of a fool as they are because I fell for it as well. They used the last chip they had, which was Lindy Ruff, to buy people back in. I was stupid enough and I bought back in. I wish I could quit this team. I wish I was able to be conned back in for loving this team. It's the worst part of all. We're stuck. Like, this team has the contracts they can't get out of. No one wants that Cousins contract. Who would want Samuelson? He can't stay on the ice. Peterka just got out of an 8-goal drought. Quinn, 24 games, hasn't beat a goalie. Kulik, who's supposed to be the next wave. Yes, I like some of his play, but in 16 games, he's got 2 goals. Dylan Cousins, 5, 6, and 11, 21 games. I have nothing left to give. 25 games in, and I'm already done. Pagula is so lucky that he lucked into Sean McDermott, because want me to run through the names here of players and coaches and GMs he's had? Rex Ryan, Doug Whaley, Lindy Ruff, Rolston, Dan Bilesma, Housley, Kruger, Granato, Lindy. GMs are Darcy, Murray, Botterill, and Adams. None of those names are in the NHL in the same positions they were at. So they stink. Until proven otherwise, this team is cooked. I have no more hope. They have plenty of cap space that they aren't using because they got to use it for the future pieces. This team does not care about winning, because if they did, they would do something different than they've done the past 13 years. Nothing has changed but the faces. The city is hungry for the Sabres to be back. We saw it early in the start of the season. People came back for a bit when they started to feel a little bit of hope. I think this game Tuesday and the lack of reaction from the team, just broke people, me included. And I've had similar rants before. It feels like a repeat, but I'm absolutely done. Like, I can't get myself to care about this team until proven otherwise. Like, until they go on some massive streak where it's just or something changes. Like, I can't be considered an idiot and an insanity once again for just falling into the same patterns again. I'm done with this team.
And like you said, they're stuck. Like,
they're stuck.
If they don't make playoffs this year, what are you going to do? Nothing. Like, you're pretty much rolling back the same team again and hoping for a different result, which is what they've done the last forever years. I mean, you had how many Stanley Cup champions at this point have gone and left the Buffalo Sabres that were on the team all at the same time at one point, and they just still couldn't even make playoffs with that team? Like, that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, so they're playing right now versus Winnipeg. They got Utah on Saturday. Who cares?
Your 2 boys have scored, though.
Whoopee. I don't care.
Cousins and Thompson.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. I really can't get myself.
Can we talk about something good?
Yeah, let's get to our first sponsor, which will put me in a good mood. Tap That Tap Room, Phil.
Tap That Tap Room is at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York, for Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar. How a self-pour bar works, in case you're going to a watch party, which PK will mention in a moment. You go in, you get a preloaded card, you go up to any of their 30 consistently rotating taps. You have as little or as much as you like of a new favorite, or try one of the ones that you are going to again and again. Enjoy trying one of the 30 or stick to something you already know, but great way to try something new or enjoy what you already love.
Yeah, great time to try something new is Friday the 6th. It's Happy Hour Friday from 3 to 7. Discounts on the entire beer wall. And you can come back Saturday and taste that favorite that you tried at a discounted rate. Because Saturday, best place in the entire country besides Bandit Land itself, but they're on the road right now, to watch the Bandits open the season. Halftime giveaways, including tickets. Game on every single TV, and the sound is on. No other place in the entire world does what Tap That Tap Room does for the Buffalo Bandits. We went a few times last year. Absolutely best place to watch the games. We will be back again and broadcast it and let everybody know when we will be back. But we will definitely be back at Tap That Tap Room to watch one of the Bandits away games. And then Sunday, come back once again to watch the Bils watch party. Player of the game jersey is announced before the game. If you had that player's jersey, wear it to Tap That Tap Room. You will get a free gift. And then the halftime jersey giveaway last Sunday, Josh Allen's jersey. I mean, come on. You can't beat that. Can't beat anything that Tap That Tap Room offers. So find out what else is on deck at their Facebook page for all their posted events, and check out what's on tap and what's on deck at Tap That Tap Room. Bandits.com. Phil, I'm back in a good mood. The NLL is back. We already talked about the games to keep an eye on the last show. We were kind of preview that on the last Wednesday. Well, we got 5 results now. Started in Ottawa. Ottawa is back in the NLL, first time in 21 years, I believe, and they made the Rock look embarrassing. 11-5. The Rock had no Rogers, Cree, and Erlin. Toronto was held scoreless in the first quarter. My boy, tap myself on the back. Jacob Dunbar is leading his team in points after a 3-3-6 game, 9 loose balls. Toronto just looked like an absolute mess, and now they're down Harris and Schreiber as well. Oh, man, the injury bug finally got Toronto. Oh, darn. Vancouver versus Colorado followed at 9 p.m. Vancouver out to a 6-1 lead. Colorado stormed right back, made Phil look like a fool. Colorado 11-7 victory. Colorado 10-1 in the second half, including shutting Vancouver out in the fourth. Game ended with 49 penalty minutes with 10 seconds left, including 3 game misconducts. 2 Jackson Subak. I believe he's probably going to get some type of suspension. Flash forward to Saturday. Las Vegas versus Rochester. Rochester walks away from this one 14-12, back and forth all night. No lead greater than 2. Rochester scored the final 2 and then shut Las Vegas out for the final 11-31. No Hartley in this one. He's not going to be playing, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but he's not going to be playing on Saturday versus the Buffalo Bandits. Already hurt. Got hurt stretching. Saskatchewan versus Albany Saturday. This one went to overtime. This was the closest one. Saskatchewan wins it 10-9 in overtime. 1 2-goal lead that lasted less than 2 minutes. Kurtz would tie it with 12 seconds left to play. Shanks would win it in overtime. Our pick with the Rush making playoffs looking better and better. And then Sunday action, Philly versus San Diego. San Diego wins 18-15. Yes, 18-15. Philly led 5-1 with 6:33 left in the first quarter. San Diego would go on a 7-1 run in the second. Both goalies were pulled, but Origlieri went back in. San Diego, their newcomers were really good. Really good. Hellier had 3. Let's see. Benesh, turning back the clock, had 5, 4, and 9. Courier got in on the action. McIntosh had 4. All the people that said I had San Diego ranked a little too high, got you.
Yeah, especially, I mean, we'll go backwards, I guess. We'll start with San Diego because we just talked about them. Everyone said, or a lot of people were saying, well, the people they brought in are too old. The people they brought in combined for a lot of points right there. It was most of their offense was the newcomers, and like you just said, Hellier, Benesh. I believe Benesh led. Somebody else had 10. Didn't Fields have 10 points?
Fields had 10. Yeah, he's in second.
Yeah, still a great game for Benesh. I mean, he's really, really good. Hellier, who I wanted as a Buchanan replacement, possibly if Buchanan left, he also looks really good. And overall, just San Diego looks good. Philly, though, I mean, able to keep with them. I mean, to get Origlieri pulled is interesting. So good for Philly to start their season a little bit stronger than last year. I mean, 15 goals against that team is pretty solid, but overall, good job by San Diego. Albany and Saskatchewan, I think, like, this is where United, I did what you did. Unified standings gets a little weird. I think we want Albany to lose that game, but Saskatchewan looks like they could be good this year and could end up making some serious noise. So with them already beating Albany to start the season, I know it was in overtime, but still, that's a big win for them early on. Rochester, we expected to take that one, but even the way it ended up happening, a lot of back and forth in that one, so that one ended up getting a little more interesting than we thought, especially with Hartley going down, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Colorado with that massive comeback, and then Toronto, yikes. Their injuries, which have been killing them for years now, are really adding up, and that is not good when you start 0-1, and then more and more and more players get injured for a team that is trying to run it back with the exact same roster they had, and you lose most of your good players. They are going to be in trouble.
Yeah, Ottawa looks really, really good. I was more impressed with the defense than I was, and Higgins had an unbelievable game, but Ottawa's defense has been hindering them a lot, and I think Dunkerley got the short stick last year because of the defense in front of him was just not up to par. They were really good in this one, and then the offense, Teat had one goal 4 assists, 5 points, and the team still, put up a walloping. I know, and this is the conversation that's been going around where people are saying, hey, Toronto had the injuries. They had the injuries on the back end. Like, that was their forward group. Their forward group was full go, and they put up 5. They got shut out in the first half. This is kind of, I'm not saying that this is what's going to be looking, and I put this in my article on Thursday with the power rankings. I'm not expecting Toronto to fall this far back. Like, I'm not expecting them to be as bad as we saw. They're battling injuries, yes. But this is part of the reason why I said they shouldn't run it back, because they keep falling short of expectations. You keep running it back. You keep doing the same thing. You sound like the Sabres. And now Schreiber's gone too. They're already light in the forward group. It's going to be very interesting to see if they make any free agent acquisitions moving forward. Vancouver versus Colorado. There's a reason why I think Colorado is going to be the top scoring team. And yes, they only put up 11, but 10 of those 11 came in the second half. Like, they went absolutely bananas. Zed Williams and Connor Kelly just absolutely ridiculous on that team. 7 goals between the two. Connor Robinson's healthy scratch was a little bit confusing. And then Ryan Lee, it was a penalty shot at the end of the game because of a minor penalty there. But, Ryan Lee getting back in the scoreboard, the smiles, that was a feel-good story. Vancouver just collapses once again. Rochester, their offense just looked filthy. I mean, Knight had 3, Fields had 10 points, McConvey had 5 points. You had Smith with 5, 3, and 8. Lanchbury had 1 goal but 7 points. This offense is very dangerous. If Hutchcraft can be anywhere as passable and consistent, which he wasn't last year, in relief of Hartley, who is definitely not playing this week, who knows what's going to be happening moving forward because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. But if Hutchcraft can be even average in front of that defense and the scoring, Rochester's going to be very dangerous. Las Vegas I still like, but I still think they're a year away. Saskatchewan, like we said, they're probably going to be making playoffs. I really like their offense. I really like their defense. And when, Schill's back there, Frankie, you get good Frankie, 49 saves. I thought he had probably the best performance of the entire weekend, 49 saves versus an Albany team. And then Albany, their offense is going to get going. I really like Will Johansson in the transition game. I think he's going to be really, really good. And then Philly versus San Diego. Philly, Demood, you got to bounce back. I know San Diego's offense is really dangerous, but I'm expecting a bounce back performance by both those goaltenders, O'Rig and Demood. I'm expecting bounce back performances by both of them in their next outing, and I believe San Diego plays Georgia on Saturday, so O'Rig gets a quicker bounce back than Demood does.
Yeah, I would say that's arguably the goaltender matchup of the week right there, and it was the highest scoring game. So pretty interesting, and that's also just how the NLL goes. Especially
after week 1. We've learned this is our 4th year covering it. You never know what to expect in week 1, but what we can expect is what we promised last week, and we will be saying and advertising since last Tuesday. The Bandits BSC fantasy game is out. We've been getting submissions nonstop. The league is continuing to grow. I think we're very happy with the response, and it's time for us to make our picks. So, Phil, do you have your picks ready to go?
I do. I had to make one change, or else we would have had the same team. So I'm not thrilled that I want to change, but I didn't want the same team as you, because what fun is that? That's boring.
That's scary that we picked the same team. I mean, we've been doing this for almost 4 years, so it kind of makes sense that we're one brain. But yeah. I am ready. We also have producer Pat's lineup here, so we'll start in tier 1. Dane Smith, Josh Byrne. Phil, who'd you go with?
I went with Dane Smith. Are we giving reasons why, or are we just launching names?
Let's just launch. All 3 of us have Dane Smith. Pat went for Dane Smith, and I also went Dane Smith. So tier 1, checked off, Dane Smith. Tier 2, options are Chris Cloutier, Chase Frazier, Ian McKay. Phil, who'd you go here?
Yeah, we are chalk across the board on tier 2. That would be Ian McKay, the current realistic lefty forward on the Bandits.
And with those loose balls and block shots and transition game that you'll probably
He's amazing.
Yeah. Like you said, all 3 of us pick Ian McKay. Tier 3, Kyle Buchanan, Tehoka Nanticoke, Nick Weiss, Steve Priolo. Pat went with Bucky. Who'd you go with?
Yeah, we all went different on this one. This is the one I had to change to be different. I did go Nick Weiss.
I was between Nick Weiss and Steve Priolo. I just thought Steve Priolo's destined for a bounce back in the points department coming up this year, so that's why I went Priolo over Weiss, but I was very close to going Nick Weiss. Producer Pat went with Bucky, like I mentioned. Tier 4, Lucas Nielsen, Thomas Whitty, who looks like Josh Allen will be putting that out very, very shortly. I did a screen by screen or side by side comparison. They look so alike. Dylan Robinson, Matt Spanger, and Cam Wires in Tier 4. Phil, I'm assuming you went Cam Wires because I went Cam Wires.
I did go Cam Wires. I'm expecting a pretty good year from him. Sophomore season, he's got Dawson back there with him, and I think he's going to I think I could see a big jump for him, especially in this kind of format.
Producer Pat went Matt Spanger. Tier 5, this one was one of the most difficult ones to choose from. Tier 5 had Zach Belter, Paul Dawson, Sam LaRue, Justin Martin, Bryce Sweeting, Connor Farrell, Emerson Clark, Matt Vince, and Steve Orleman. For everybody saying, why do you got the goalies in there? Goalies get cause turnovers, loose balls, points as well, so we needed to include them some way. And no, saves do not count as block shots, but thank you for the funny question. Phil, who'd you go with in Tier 5?
It is a fair question. I mean, that is the way that defenders block shots. It's
right,
the same.
It's a save. It is not a block shot.
I get the question. I did laugh. I did go Dawson. The other one I was thinking here was LaRue, but I really don't know what he is yet.
I don't think anybody does.
Right. So he could have a wild, random, defensive, offensive transition breakout season, which would be fun to look for, but we haven't seen it yet in his career. So I went with the tried and true Dawson for a full season. I trust him to put up the points. This one is pretty much a defensive lockdown kind of tier, so it's a little bit tougher, but I did go with Dawson.
Yeah, producer Pat went with Zach Belter. He was the other one I was going back and forth with. I was between Paul Dawson and Zach Belter, and I leaned Paul Dawson just because of the block shots and the loose balls and the cause turnover possibility that he will have on the penalty kill, as opposed to Zach Belter, who likely won't get time unless Wires or Paul Dawson goes down, and even then, I think it might be Justin Martin filling in his spot. So that's the reason I went with Paul Dawson. Last one, practice squad. This is the one where if your player gets called up, you get the extra points. Evan Constantinopoulos, Taylor Dooley, Clay Scanlon, Trent Robertson. Phil, who'd you go with your practice squad?
I went with Scanlon, who is, even though Ian McKay's our, I think, pick for the third forward, he's the only other current healthy actual third lefty forward on the team. So I am very interested to see what that active roster looks like on night one. We'll see if he actually gets called up right away, but if anyone has the biggest opportunity to be called up pretty consistently, if there's any injury to the left side outside of the team going somewhere else in the organization, he is the obvious and clear call-up. So I think Scanlon should, in theory, get the most play out of those players.
That is exactly why I also went with Scanlon. I wanted to go Robertson because I loved him, and the preseason and training camp that I saw of him, but I had to go Scanlon for the reasons that you went with. Pat went with Taylor Dooley. Now, the tiebreaker, this comes down to if there is a tie in total points between the 6 players at the end of the season. It is the total goals scored for the Buffalo Bandits for the 18 regular season games. Phil, producer Pat went with 222. What did you go with?
I did up Pat. I went 225. I think they're going to take a small step back from last year, but I do think, their team's insane, and I think we'll see a lot more of that this year. But I could see a bit of a downtick without Brandon Robinson. We'll see what that lefty forward group ends up looking like. I don't think they'll be quite as lethal as they were last year, but at the same time, if we think that Dane's going to put the ball in the back of the net a little bit more frequently this year, maybe they can be just as, if not more lethal than last year. So took a little bit of a hit, but not a massive hit.
I am giving them 219, which is good for 12.17 goals a game, which is a whole goal less than they had last year. And if you're wondering where does that stack up in the league, Buffalo had 13.17, which was number 1 in the league. You had Halifax, who was number 2 at 12.67. So 219 would be number 2 in the entire league, just ahead of the Toronto Rock, who had 218 last year. So I'm not dropping them out of nowhere. I'm just giving them 1 goal less because of what that left side is. It could be, I could get egg in my face and look like a complete idiot, but the left side still confuses me. But that is our teams. Producer Pat went with Smith, McKay, Bucky, Spanger, Belter, Dooley, and 222 goals. I have Smith, McKay, Priolo, Wires, Dawson, Scanlon, and 219. Phil, run through your team real quick.
I have Smith, McKay, Weiss, Wires, Dawson, Scanlon, and 225. And real quick, the reason I think all of us went Smith over Byrne is not a shot at Josh and his ridiculously incredible season last year. It is a shot at no Brandon Robinson and the lack of depth on that left side, which will continue to confuse us until we start seeing it in games and watch Josh put up 13 points game 1, and we'll look dumb.
I also went with Smith because he plays the two-way forward role slightly more than Josh Byrne does, which means more cost turnovers, more loose balls, and more scoring opportunities.
He's real good. He's real good.
He's pretty good. But what also is good, the Bandits are back. The title defense is back on. Buffalo versus Rochester. Saturday night, Bandits have lost the last 2 openers, Phil, but both of them were to Albany. One of them was the Albany that went 3-15, I believe it was, and last year was the Albany that made the run to the finals that absolutely nobody saw coming. And if you say you did, you're a dirty liar. They are 7-1 versus Rochester the last 3 years, including the playoff win in 2023. Phil, what are your initial thoughts on the current 1-0 Rochester Knighthawks?
The biggest concern I have for this game is the fact that the Bandits were on bye in week 1. I don't love that. I think the Bandits don't love being on bye either, and I think with Rochester being one of the teams that played in week 1, I think they just are coming out into this game a little bit more prepared. And prepared, I don't know, is not the right word. I'm not saying that the Bandits won't be prepared to play, but they're coming with a regular season game under their belt, and I think that's huge in this kind of situation this early. Like later in the season when your team's played a bunch of games, you take a week off, it's more of an advantage just to have that break and have that rest. But right now to start the season, I think it's a disadvantage to come into this game not playing last week and having Rochester play last week. I think Rochester stacks up against the Bandits and the rest of the league really, really well. We'll see. Like you said earlier with Hutchcraft, he is hit or miss. He is a player that can have a really good game and then have a really bad game. So with them not having Hartley, I think the advantage in theory goes to Buffalo, but Rochester is a really good offense, really good defense, and Hutchcraft is a serviceable goalie, and they have already played a game. So this one's going to be tough. It is. I don't think this is going to be a walkover, easy game by any means. I think it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be close, and I think it'll be really interesting to see what the Bandits offense and defense look like. I'm really excited about the Bandits defense, I think maybe even more than their offense, because the offense we've seen for so many years, the defense looks a little bit different with Dawson for a full season, plus Belter, Wires coming into their sophomore years. I'm excited to see what this defense really looks like. The offense, I mean, where all eyes are going to be on that lefty side, and what does Ian McKay do? What does Whitty do? And do they actually have Scanlon in the starting roster? But as far as Rochester goes, they're scary. They're a really good team, and they already have a game in this season. So I think that does give them a small advantage.
Yeah, the only way we're going to see Scanlon is if there is an injury or a pup or a holdout type of move before the game. And we always post the injury report, and we also give the updates as we see them posted everywhere. So again, follow us on all the social media sites. We're usually one of the first ones that have all that information posted and easier to find than on the NLL website. But yeah, I agree with you. The Buffalo Bandits the last couple seasons have come out slow, and I don't think it has anything to do with their play on the field. I think it's just the style that they've been playing, and it's been working the last 2 years. So if, again, we're going to go over our predictions in a little bit, but if Buffalo comes out slow and they lose 14-10. Don't everybody go crazy, because it's happened the last 2 years, and guess what? What ended up happening those last 2 years? Oh, yeah, they won a championship. So just pump the brakes. Don't go over overreaction Saturday night, Sunday morning. It's all going to be okay. Last year, because there's not a huge sample size. Yes, Rochester played last Saturday, but again, not a huge sample size. We'll kind of go over last year's numbers real quick. Buffalo, first in the league, like we already mentioned, 13.17 goals for. Rochester was in fifth at 11.89. Last year's goals against, Buffalo was down in 10th. But remember, Mad Vince was not the same Mad Vince that he was early in the season, that he was late and into the playoffs. 11.78, good for 10th. And then Rochester was down tied for 12th, 12.56. We'll go over the forwards real quick here to keep an eye on like we do every year. Forwards for the lefties for Rochester. You got Turner Evans, number 5. He's more of the grinder, set-it-up guy. Think of Brandon Robinson, who Rochester does have, but he's not on the active roster. I believe he's either on the protected players list or the holdout. I can't remember. I would have to look. Connor Fields, really good, former Buffalo Bandit, number 10. Yes, he would not be doing what he's doing in Buffalo. Relax, have to say that every time we mention Connor Fields' name or the ghost of Connor Fields appears behind me. Graydon Hogue did not play in game 1. Rookie, high draft pick from 2 years ago, number 16. I do not expect him to be playing unless there's some type of injury that we do not know about. Thomas McConvey, number 12. Sophomore season, had a really good year last year, 28 goals, 52 points, 91 loose balls. Then you look at the righties. Curtis Knight, finally healthy to start the season, number 9. I really like his game. I wanted him in the Buffalo Bandits a couple of years ago when he was a free agent. Ryan Lanchbury, just a setup machine, 9th in the league last year with 66 assists. Number 7, Ryan Smith, your boy. I absolutely love him as well. 99-point season last year, 43 points. And then Kyle Waters, he's more of the grinder guy on the right side. Kyle Waters, number 42, 44 points though. So this offense is very, very deep all over the place. And if Thomas McConvey can take that next step in his sophomore year, those lefties are just going to be as dangerous and as big of a threat as the righties are. And it's going to be hard to defend.
Yeah, I think the other big thing is if Curtis Knight can return to pre-injury form. Yes. I mean, last year in his 9 games, definitely not a bad setup of 7-27, but he was very good previously. So if he can kind of return to what he used to be, that'll be even scarier. But they have a lesser but very similar Fields and Smith to Smith and Josh Byrne. It is there. They have 2 powerhouses on each side, which is the setup you are hoping to have on a team. And then they have the fill-in players who are fantastic. Again, this offense pretty much built very similarly to Buffalo. And we know how good Buffalo's offense is, so you can just imagine how good this offense is as well. And they started off really hot. I mean, Fields and Smith combined for 18 points. Not what you want to see as a Bandits fan headed into this game, but they are a lethal offense. And again, I'm very excited to see the defense this year for the Buffalo Bandits. So this is a monster test right out of the gate.
Yeah, we'll move over to the transition and defense, and this is going to hurt my soul because so many of these players either left Buffalo or I wanted to be on the Buffalo Bandits at some point in the 3.5, close to 4 years of this show. Matt Guillory, number 81, former Bandit. 4th in the league last year, 174 loose balls, 11th in caused turnovers with 25. He was my pick to win and still is my pick to win Transition Player of the Year. Taylor Jensen, he was a trade target that I wanted Buffalo to target. 13 games last year. He was also their faceoff man in week 1, won 45% of them. So he is likely going to draw against Connor Farrell because Joe Post is currently on the holdout list, who was 59% last year. Josh Medeiros, with Panther City last year, he was another pick that I wanted in the dispersal draft, but did not reach the Buffalo Bandits. Rylan Reese, I really love his game. He kind of took a step back last year. I'm expecting a big season from him. Brandon Slade with Toronto last year, only 9 games played. Chad Tutton, man, I love Chad Tutton, but he signs with Rochester. He was with Philly last year. Still that constant professional back there. Ethan O'Connor, 4th in block shots last year, number 21 with the Rochester Knighthawks. He was a former Buffalo Bandit as well. 24 block shots, 4th in the league, like I mentioned. Then Mitch Olgovy, I apologize. He's currently on the PUP list. Not expecting him back, but he's another threat in the transition game if he does play.
Are you going to have to switch your love of Toronto to your love of Rochester?
I believe I already mentioned that on previous shows that Rochester has kind of taken over my love for Toronto. Yeah.
Which is fair. And also depressing because they're a big rival again. We really like the rival teams quite a bit, but it doesn't help that they have, half former Bandits and just half really fun players that we've wanted for a long time. But their transition game and their defense are loaded. Gilray, I think he was third on the preseason rankings by coaches and GMs for Transition Player of the Year. First was McKay. Congratulations to McKay. But Gilray finally getting some love for how incredible he is, and he is really, really good. Like you mentioned, pretty much everybody else you are a big fan of, as am I. Tutton, Reese, Medeiros, who came over, Jensen, who came over, O'Connor. We liked him a lot while he was here. Completely understand why he left. He just didn't really have a solid standing with the team. Not character-wise, but like on the roster. He just could not break through, even though he is a solid player. Sad to see him go, but happy to see him picked up by another team and him doing well. He deserves it. He's a great guy. And then, like you said, post on the holdout, but this defense is pretty loaded. The transition is solid, especially with Gilray. This team is, they're good. They're a good team.
Yeah, I think their defense is the most improved part of this team in the offseason. The additions
they made a lot of moves,
including the growth of the players that are already currently there. Jensen is going to be the one that I really wanted, and just seeing him take that next step, including taking some draws in the faceoff and going 45% against Connor Kirst. Yeah, that stinks.
It does.
What are you going to do about it? But goalies, this is the biggest talking point that we've had on against Rochester this entire offseason. And they kind of ran it back with the goalies, and that was one thing that I was a little bit concerned with, because Riley Hutchcraft, he's a great goaltender as a backup, but he's not one that you can rely on, and we saw it last year. 6-7, 12.95 goals against, and a 76 save percentage. Not bad, but that is not good enough to be a threat in the playoffs. Yes, they squeaked into the playoffs, but they needed so many things to happen. We said that if you get a healthy Rylan Hartley, this team, as it's built right now on paper and what we saw in week 1, is a title threat across the league. But Rylan Hartley's not going to be playing in this one. It's already been reported. They said he stretched a little bit too far, and it's a lower body. So I'm glad that it's just lower body, because he's had so many concussion issues. You saw that scary moment last year where he was hitting the head and then barely could get to the bench. So really hoping that, as an NLL fan, that he does come back quicker than in previous injuries. But you're going to be going against Riley Hutchcraft, and Kevin Orelman is the backup right now. So Hutchcraft, he was very inconsistent last year. What type of goaltender are you going to get? Are you going to get the one that we saw versus Las Vegas, who was very, very solid in Game 1? Or are you going to ride the roller coaster and you're going to be in one of those valleys versus Hutchcraft? He can play really, really well. It's just he hasn't been consistent, and that's why he's a backup in this league.
Yeah, I also like that they are Rylan and Riley, and also
and
both
I didn't mess
H's.
it up.
Yeah, no, it was close. It was close, but it's tough not to. I mean, they are
Rylan Hartley and Riley Hutchcraft.
Yeah, they are.
The H's.
Could start a law firm, Rylan and Riley.
Yeah,
be a good time. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we thought, which going over the teams in the offseason, I found myself gravitating toward the goaltender way too often, but it seems to be the thing that makes or breaks the team in a way. So I think this is going to be another big talking point with this team, was exactly what we said. Hartley is incredible. And when he came back, even for that one playoff game, his numbers were through the roof after not playing for so long. He came back and looked really, really good. So if they got that Hartley again for a full season and he was healthy, this team is terrifying. But Hutchcraft, like you said, nothing against him, but he is more of a career backup than he is a starter, especially because Hartley, as a starter, would have been, if he could, remain what he did last year or in years previous, is a top half of the league starter, not even just a starting goaltender. He's a very good one. So Hutchcraft he is your Jonathan Quick of the NLL. And I mean, Hutchcraft is what he is. I mean, I don't think he is your true starting goalie for the long term. So like you said, I don't know if we'll ever get any true information or update on how long Hartley's going to be out, but Hutchcraft hopefully for Rochester only needs to fill in for a few games and then Hartley can come back healthy. But for as long as he's in, he is just inconsistent. He can have a game like he just did, play really, really well, and then he can have a game where he just completely kind of implodes. And it's just the nature of who he is, and he's just not as good as other starting goaltenders in the NLL.
So we went over kind of the numbers last year. We went over the players to watch, the main pieces for Rochester. We went over the goaltending battle because Hutchcraft's going to be in net. It's already confirmed. No Hartley's going to be playing in this one. So now's the time of the segment. If you're just joining us for the first time this year, we make predictions each week. We've been doing this. This is going to be our 4th year doing it. Year 1, they beat Calgary 16-9. Year 2, they lost to Albany 11-10. And last year, they lost to Albany 17-13. So, Phil, out of the many, many years we've been doing this, only twice have we absolutely nailed the prediction. And it's been me both times. And I'm not just patting myself on the back because of that. But both times I nailed these picks, it was against Rochester. So not putting any pressure on you, but I'm pretty good at predicting the scores. Out of the 8 times that Buffalo's faced Rochester, I've nailed it 25% of the time. What is
I'm
your
never
score
going to
prediction?
live down the end of the game.
Max Adler,
penalty
baby.
shot.
Max Adler. Phil,
What
what's
a
your score prediction
joke.
for Buffalo at Rochester?
I have Buffalo winning, and I have it winning 13-12. I think Rochester's offense is going to be very tough, especially after a game under their belt. But I think the Bandits offense that we already know is lethal with a backup goalie playing in. I think the score might be a little bit different if Hartley was playing, but with Hutchcraft in net, I think the Bandits can take advantage, even though the Rochester defense is really, really good. I think the Bandits, hopefully, after the last couple of years of losing the opener and realizing how insane the unified standings have been as far as getting into playoffs and the seeding, this is a monster game right out of the gate. So hopefully the Bandits are coming out on fire and on all cylinders. So I think it's going to be really close. I think there's going to be struggles on the Bandits end on both sides. But I think in the end, because of Hutchcraft being in, I see them squeaking out a very close game, 13-12.
I almost thought we were going to have this same exact prediction and then go, oh man, Phil's going to nail it on the same one that we pick it. But we went a little different. I do have them scoring 13 goals, but I have them giving up 10. I do love the offense, but for some reason, and I don't have the numbers to back this up, for some reason, Buffalo is always very good against Connor Fields, D'ing him up. And I don't expect a monster game from Fields. You're still going to get a 4 or 5 point night from Connor Fields, but he's not going to go for that explosion. And maybe I'll sound like an idiot after this, but 13-10 victory. And I'll give you one other score prediction here. I think it's a big Tehoka-Nanticoke game. I have him going 4-1-5 in this opening night. He's going to have 4 of those 13 goals. I don't know why. Just got an itch in me that I got to scratch, and I think it's Tehoka-Nanticoke scoring 4.
Are you taking that to a betting platform, or?
I could, right? I think. I don't know. I got to see what New York's allowing, but it might be out there somewhere. If I do, I'll find it and I'll let you know.
I did see DraftKings has NLL scores on it at least. I don't know if it has player props, but
I don't think it does, but I'll double check. I'm
We'll
gonna
see.
be I got a little time to kill after recording this because it takes a while to upload, but maybe I'll be looking at some betting sites. But Phil, it is back. It is everybody's favorite time, and we kind of sped this up last year because it would take so long. But still looking for a sponsor for this section. The fastest milestone minute. That means
This one
for
doesn't
all
even
of
look
you
that
that are
bad.
joining us for the first time ever, I go through all the milestones as quickly as I can that the Buffalo Bandits might be achieving on that game. And this one just happens to be on Saturday night. So if you miss any of these and you do not want to listen back, you can find them on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. We post them on the lead up to every single game. We space them out, so some will be out on Friday, some will be out on Saturday. Just follow us there, and you'll get these milestones that I'm about to whip through. The fastest I've ever done them. Are you ready, Phil?
I'm pumped. I mean, this isn't actually too bad of a list. Normally it's about 16 pages, so.
Yeah, when playoffs come around, it's going to be even longer. But here we go. Kyle Buchanan is 2 points away from 600 for his career. He averages 3.32 a game. Kyle Buchanan is also 6 loose balls away from 1,000 for his career. He averages 5.52 a game. Dane Smith is 4 loose balls away from 900 for his career. He averages 5.01 a game. With that, he would tie Jay Thornberry for 5th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Chase Frazier is 3 goals away from tying Darius Kilgore for 7th place in Buffalo Bandits history. He averages 1.74 a game. Chris Cloutier is 5 points away from tying Sean Williams for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history. He averages 3.53 a game for his Bandits career. Ian McKay, 6 loose balls away from tying Mike Kersey for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history. He averages 6.92 a game. If Paul Dawson plays on Saturday, he will move into a tie with Aaron Bold for 9th place in NLL history. Steve Priolo, 2 caused turnovers away from tying Brody Merrill for 3rd place in NLL history. He averages 1.19 a game. And the final one, Dane Smith is 3 assists away from tying Sean Williams for 9th place in NLL history. He averages 3.94 a game.
Nailed it.
Click. Didn't mess up once. I've been practicing all offseason. I am in season mode, Phil.
I love it. I love it. Dane Smith, already top 10 in NLL history for assists. Ridiculous. And
it helps when you get 100 a year.
It does. It does. Even you were going over one of the games, one of the players from last year who had 66. I don't even remember who it was.
Lanchbury, yeah.
And he was top 10 with 66, and Dane had 44 more, and that was top 10 in the entire NLL, and he still had 44 more assists. He's ridiculous. Absolutely insane. Some of those other ones, Dawson's going to give you some extra veteran stats to have to go over for a lot of games here. I mean, Vince we had last year with him moving up per game on the list, and now you got Dawson climb that same list.
Yeah, that's I'm looking all over for these stats. So once again, you can follow us on X and Blue Sky. We will be posting them leading up all season long. If you love this segment and you want to sponsor it, let us know. Maybe like the Energizer Bunny. I still want to do that. But our last one here, NLL Outlook. There's not a ton of teams to either root for if you're a Buffalo Bandits fan or root against just because it's only week 2. Colorado is in Las Vegas. Colorado's looking to go 2-0. Vegas is looking to avoid the 0-2 drought. Friday, 10:30. Stay up late for that one. Calgary versus Halifax, their first games of the year, Saturday at 5 p.m., so you can watch the majority of that before the Bandits kick it off. Albany versus Toronto. Both teams looking to avoid the 0-2 start, Saturday, 7 p.m. I gave the stat on X the other day. There were 5 teams that started 0-2 last year. Only 1 team made the playoffs, so you do not want to start 0-2. You can't make the playoffs early this season, but you can ruin a season in December. And then San Diego versus Georgia, 8 o'clock start. Saturday, jam-packed slate with 5 games this weekend in week 2 of the NLL action. Is there any game on that schedule besides the Bandits versus Rochester, obviously, that you're got your eye towards?
Calgary and Halifax is the battle of the weird basement that we were discussing in the offseason. Colorado, yes. It'll be interesting to see what they really are. Although Vegas isn't the biggest competition in our opinion, I think.
58 saves, though.
He did, yeah. That was really, really impressive. Albany and Toronto is a bummer because I want both of them to lose. And San Diego and Georgia, I think I want Georgia for the upset. I think San Diego's going to take it, but I think I want San Diego to also just lose some games every once in a while. So Georgia for the upset would be nice. But Georgia also is another team that could go on a monster run. I think that's actually going to be a really good game. I mean, out of all of these, Toronto with the bajillion injuries, I don't know what they're going to do. So that would have been probably the game of the week, in my opinion, other than the Bandits and Rochester. I think that is going to be the game. But San Diego and Georgia, it'll be interesting to see what Georgia is. And San Diego's already starting off really, really solid. But those are both teams that could make the playoffs and make some noise in playoffs. So I think that'll be a really good battle outside of Buffalo and Rochester.
Yeah, I think Albany-Toronto is the one that everybody's eyes are going to go to besides the Buffalo-Rochester matchup. For me, it's going to be Calgary versus Halifax because I've been a staunch non-Halifax supporter. I think they're going to struggle a lot this year because of the players that they lost in up front, and I don't think Warren Hill is the best goaltender, and this is his final year of his contract. Let's find out if they're going to extend him in the offseason or not. So this will be a true test between the two teams that I currently have at the very bottom of my NL power rankings.
Is it a test?
We're gonna find out. I think Calgary is the only team in the entire NLL, in my opinion, that really didn't get better. And I think Halifax, yes, they didn't get better, but they took a route to get better in the future. So that's why I think they're where they're at.
They took the Albany
first statement. Calgary, I have no idea what they're doing. They're building an old team. They're going to be able to score more goals, but they're not going to be able to save anything. So I think that game could be like the highest scoring game of the weekend, getting you over 30 goals total. But we'll find out more. But yeah, the 5 games this weekend in the NLL. Not much more to talk about in this one. Just make sure we're in the final hours. Final few hours. We're recording 8:41 right now on Thursday, so you have less than 48 hours to get your BSC Buffalo Bandits fantasy team submitted to us so you can win some free merch from us if you can beat the BSC boys. That's all that matters. So, Phil, anything else for our first show of our in-season schedule?
No, go Bandits. Glad the season is back. It's exciting. They are defending again. I knew you would rock some Bandits gear, so I decided to rock the Bils gear after the W, even though it was, I think, about 6 months ago when they had that snow game and won, is what it feels like. But I knew you'd be rocking the Bandits, so really excited to have the season back. Excited to kick it off. It is a bit of a bummer that their home game isn't for a little while yet, but excited to watch the boys in black and orange take on Rochester.
Defend the championship from back-to-back years.
Starts this week.
Coming up on our schedule, once again, it's posted on all the social media sites. I know we're wrapping up a little bit longer of a show, but we had a lot to go over.
We say that every show.
Yeah, we say it every single show. We like to try to keep it around an hour, but it always goes to like an hour 10. Sunday, as long as producer Pat makes the graphics, you'll have our BSC Bandits MVP of the week. Monday is our reaction show to the Sabres 2 games, the Bils game versus the Rams, but especially the Bandits taking on Rochester. We'll break down that game completely. The best place to get the Buffalo Bandits content is right here on the BSC. Tuesday, Phil's article drops. Wednesday is our NLL picks for week 3. Currently, me and producer Pat are tied for first at 3-2. We'll find out what happens if Phil can make a comeback. A lot of the same picks, though. Thursday, my power rankings are actually going to drop on Friday because we have the Bandits playing a Friday game. So we're going to flip-flop those for this coming week. I have NL rankings coming out on Friday, and we got the episode coming out on Thursday. So stay tuned for that. Again, our schedule is out. You can follow us on all the social media sites, which I'm going to go over right now. But thank you for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Check out those milestones right there. Check out our store on our link tree, on our social media sites, or at the shop tab at the top of the website, which is BuffaloSportsCollective.com. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and please make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify because it greatly helps us. Until next time, go Bandits. Bye-bye.